tomato plants have got to be one of the most common things that everyone will have a go at growing during the summer months, just maybe sticking on the patio or in a greenhouse, and they'll just come outside sort of when they're ripe, stick them in a salad, easy kind of things to get going. And one of the first things that people get into growing when they're looking at maybe having allotment or starting into the growing process. But they're not without their problems. Tomatoes, particularly that are grown outside, are more susceptible to a disease called blight. But there's a couple of things that you can do that will reduce that and prevent it. You can see with these tomatoes that I've got here, these are grown in sort of almost like a runner bean style in the way you've got the canes that are grown up. One of the first things in preventing blight with tomatoes grown outside is good airflow. Blight will thrive on damp conditions, so when we get some rain and the leaves get wet, they've got to be able to dry out pretty quickly. So by thinning out the leaves through the plant, you get good airflow through and good air circulation, and that will be one step of reducing blight in the tomato leaves. Blight also comes from the ground as well, so when rain and water hits the dirt and splashes up, you can get on the leaves as well. So what you want to do is make sure you remove leaves at least a good foot up, so there's no sort of splash zone for the leaves on here. Another thing is sunshine. Sunshine is a great way of preventing blight. So by thinning out the leaves again, same as with the airflow, you allow light to get to a lot more areas of the plant. If you start allowing them to become crowded and shaded, then they're much more likely to get blight in that way as well. And so there's a couple of things that you can do to be able to grow tomatoes outside. But growing tomatoes outside, if you can, is the best possible way to get the best tasting fruit. These are a number of varieties I've got here. There's an Acer cherry. Here we've got a Sun Gold tomato. We tried this year the Indigo Rose, which is a black purple tomato. And the other one is a Sunstream, which was grown from seed, say from a tomato bought from a supermarket. So we'd try to compare actual official bought seeds, sort of from nurseries and seed companies, as opposed to seeds saved from tomatoes that were bought from the store. So I'll just show you some of the tomatoes that I've got going on here. Okay, so these are the Sunstream variety that have grown from seed. You can see how long the trusses are on this thing. I mean, the truss on that is almost kind of pushing 2 foot in length on these, and you get a lot of fruit off of them. Fruit size is sort of like a plum kind of sort of shape and size, and they just have such a nice deep flavor that sort of with a nice thin skin as well, so they're kind of a good salad tomato. This one's a Sunstream behind here, and the truss on that's probably got, I think it's about 40, maybe 50 tomatoes just on this one truss. A really heavy cropper. So Sunstream, I'll save the seeds from these and try them again next year. They probably have grown up about 7 foot, maybe sort of in growing them up in tall. So again, if you're looking for outside tomatoes and a resistance against blight, tomatoes that grow tall and vertical so that you can get them up high, thin the leaves, almost growing in runner bean style for good airflow again. And so pick your variety that you want to sort of choose when you're growing them outside. But I mean, look at all the tomatoes that are growing on these, so many. The one variety that has caught a lot of people's attention when walking past the allotment is these, which are the Indigo Rose tomatoes. They're a black or a really dark purple skinned tomato. Again, they grow in a same sort of fashion as the others up the canes, but they're actually sort of a really nice tomato to be able to eat as well. Flavor wise, they're really good. Not quite so easy to tell when they're ripe, because as a normal tomato they go from green to either yellow or red or something, or they flush, and so you can see easily. These stay the same color the whole time, so the only way you can tell is by feeling them when they're slightly soft. This one back here is soft to the touch, is ripened, so that sort of comes off. And underneath they'll turn a sort of a rose colour when they're ripe, whereas before they sort of have a green tips to them. So there is other ways that you can kind of tell, but they're not the most obvious for being able to tell. But flavour wise, as a tomato, a really nice tomato as far as tomatoes go. In the catalogue, when I ordered the seeds, they were classed as excellent in flavour. I would say they're pretty high up there with flavour. Nice all-round balance, not too mushy, quite juicy. You could use it for cooking or for salads, so either way they work really well. But yeah, the Indigo Rose is a worthwhile variety to try and have a go at. It's a bit different, so maybe next time something for you to consider is the Indigo Rose tomato. It has a red center in the middle, but really nice flavored tomato. I'll grow these again next year. So that's just some of the varieties that I'm growing here, and some of the methods that you can use to be able to grow tomatoes outside. Using the cane system in the same way that you grow runner beans. Selecting a variety that will grow up them nice and tall as opposed to the bush ones, and by thinning out the leaves, allowing a lot of sunlight and airflow to get through the plants. Don't take all the leaves off, because they still need some for working as a plant and being able to grow the fruit, but by thinning them out and reducing them, that really makes a good airflow and will reduce your issues with any blight, and also allows sunlight to get in, which will kill any blight spores, and allow when you do get some rain, allow the leaves to dry out pretty quickly. The pinching out of the side shoots is also worthwhile doing, because if you keep pinching those out, you'll keep a main stem going the whole way up, and every so often you'll set these trusses all along there, rather than allowing them to split and sending out fruit all over the place. They're much more difficult to then keep in line up the pole. So by doing all those things, you should be able to kind of have a good success with growing tomatoes outside. They taste better. I think they just are all round healthier growing outside, but just following a few basic rules, and you should have success with growing tomatoes outside. Take care.